there's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, right? You can't earn $1 billion.
That's right.
You just can't earn that.
That's exactly correct.
You can get market power. You can break rules. You can do all sorts of things. You can abuse labor laws.
Yep.
You can pay people less than what they're worth.
Yep.
But you can't earn that, right?
That's right.
And so you have to create a myth that since you didn't earn that, you have to create a myth of earning it.
That was Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talking about the myth-making that these billionaires engage in an effort to justify their wealth and how they obtained it. And I think it's important for people to first be reminded how much a billion of anything is. So 1 million seconds, for example, is 11.57 days. 1 billion seconds is 31.71 years. And just for fun, just because we might soon have our first trillionaire, 1 trillion seconds is 31,710 years.
I did that calculation with Elon Musk's wealth.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. You turn all of his money into $100 bills.
Right.
And lay them end to end. And you ask, how far does it go around the earth? We can go several times around the earth with $100 bills. Okay. And then there's some leftover money. Tape them together to a ribbon, and you'll have enough left over to go to the moon and back.
Yeah. See, that's ridiculous.
And this is a bit of a tangent, but I just watched the movie Cabaret for the first time, and then I watched the Broadway show on YouTube. And if you haven't seen it, it takes place in Berlin just before World War II. The Nazis are coming to power in the most antagonistic way possible, and the show highlights the apathy of many Germans as they watched fascism overtake their own country.
The bad guys win. They won. You know, fascism is back. Yay! I mean, at this point, the only thing we can do, our only comeuppance, is to party and dance and have fun and laugh and let's play games, because they got what they wanted, man. They got it. Well, they got it. So I'm going to be dancing. I'm going to be having some fun. Join me.
And I think the stage show does a much better job than the movie of demonstrating the different social dynamics of the time, specifically the ways in which different people deal or don't deal with what they're witnessing around them. But there is a song in the show about money. And the money song is as fitting as ever. It says that money makes the world go around. And in the stage show, without spoiling too much, but like spoiling a little, it's sung at a time when one of the main characters does something for money without asking quite enough questions. Because at that point, what did any of it matter? Money is money, right? If you can earn some, you're winning. If you need it, you find it. Money, where it comes from, where it ends up, how much of it is traded for goods or services provided, all of it is what makes the world go around, and that, to some extent, has always been true. But the world of finance operates with a seemingly infinite number of rules and regulations, and many of them feel arbitrary. And you have to wonder sometimes who came up with any of this in the first place? Who decided on all of these rules that the rest of us now have to follow? And the only logical answer to that question is that whoever came up with the rules either doesn't have to follow them, or the rules were designed in such a way that they just don't apply to them in the first place. Why would anyone write a rule that hinders their own ability to earn more money than everyone else?
So there's always been this sort of thread through social programs that is somehow that the people in those situations are there because of a lack of virtue, right?
Yeah.
They are there because they are taking advantage of a system. The majority of people on those programs are working poor. They're working their asses off. They're doing 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, working at Walmart and still having to get SNAP benefits. Like, this is not a problem of desire and intrepid spirit. It's a system that would rather protect, the billionaires' last 20 billion than help somebody get their first 1,000. To me, that's the system that has to be realigned. And is any of this that we're doing here actually realigning that system?
We live in a representative democracy. Our elected officials make a lot of rules, not all, but a lot. And since this isn't a direct democracy, our representatives can essentially do whatever they want during their time in office. For example, in the fights between the residents of small towns and giant data centers, we've lately been seeing a lot of local representatives who do not feel as though they have to vote in the direct interests of their constituents, the people whose interests they were literally elected to do exactly that, represent. We have seen them say outright that they were voted for by the people to vote the way that they want to vote on behalf of the people, which is not exactly how it works. In other words, they don't feel any obligation to actually represent the people that they represent, and they certainly don't feel any guilt about voting against the stated will and interest of those people. Really, the only threat to their power that they recognize is the possibility that they will not be re-elected. But the likelihood of that happening is usually pretty slim. Americans, for some reason, love an incumbent. Either way, a lot can be done in 2 or 6 years. At the very least, even if a politician cannot change any rules or laws during their time in office, they can certainly profit off of their time in there. Or if 2 or 6 years isn't enough time for them, at least they can build up some goodwill with the millionaires and billionaires by not making their lives any more difficult. That could maybe make for some lucrative business associations post-Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been doing it for decades and no one has stopped her. The people of San Francisco just kept voting for her until she decided to stop running. And this went on for nearly 40 years, for longer than I've been alive, for longer than AOC has been alive. So if AOC and I are both pushing 40, I think I'm almost exactly a year older than her. And the only meaningful change that has happened for a major US city like San Francisco is that it has become more hospitable to corporations and billionaires and less welcoming to middle and lower class Americans, then we have a problem. San Francisco is one of my personal favorite cities in this entire country, but it has become completely unaffordable for most Americans under the leadership of Nancy Pelosi, so much so that even those of us with good, well-paying jobs can't even think about living there. I think these days it's become so normalized that only the super wealthy deserve to live in beautiful places with character and community that many Americans can't even imagine themselves living in those places anymore. Mrs. Doubtfire was set in San Francisco in the 1990s, and even when Robin Williams' character was an out-of-work voice actor, he was still able to find a decent job with a decent wage, and he was able to get a decent apartment with that money in that city. That was not an absurd premise back then, and really the idea that cities can only survive with billionaires and millionaires is absurd. You need people from every economic and social class to ensure a city is well run and thriving, and the city needs to be structured in such a way that each of those demographics is accounted for and provided for. Instead, you have these Batman wannabes running around pretending to be humanitarians and philanthropists while hoarding wealth, driving unnecessarily and dangerously fast cars, and giving back very little to the city that they exist within. And then they wonder why crime is so bad outside of their mansions and walled properties. But the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix actually did a pretty good job of portraying that the Joker wasn't just some insane character that deserved to be locked away at Arkham. He was just a man trying to survive in a world that has not been built for him, in a world that would have rather to pretend he didn't exist, or that he didn't need to be accounted for, or that he didn't deserve some way to survive and thrive within that city. And maybe that's a bad analogy, I don't really know. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. But one thing that we do know to be true, based on data, is that wealth inequity drives crime, and wealth inequity is driven by billionaires and corporations who do not pay taxes, who do not meaningfully give back to their communities, who insist on winning at this game that the rest of us do not want to play because the rules are and have always been rigged against us. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.